Welcome to the channel. Like all things that I ever discuss, these are my opinions. I'm not stating that I am correct, nor that I am wrong. This is a very nuanced topic. It's not just black and white. It's got at least 69 shades of gray. It's very in-depth. You may have a different take than I do, and you know what? That's okay. That's what engaging in dialogue is. That's what having a conversation, a friendly debate is all about, even when the subject matter can be potentially pretty severe, pretty serious. Someone posted on Reddit, always wondered why Saudi shows get hate, but this is clear now that this is probably the most racist comment I've ever heard. And a person on Twitter said, and I quote, very important that I put the quote part, "Currently wondering if Scarlet Bordeaux's extremely tame sheer cleavage window is enough to make the barbaric savages in the crowd start sharpening their saifs." We all know that human rights over there, they're not good. They're improving. They're nowhere where they should be. But they're getting there. Which then begs the question of, why does the WWE deal with Saudi Arabia? Well, money. Is there an ulterior motive? A positive one? Perhaps. Let me go through some of the things that I've jogged down here on my notepad, and let's try to get through this here, okay? You can tell how professional I am. 6 years ago, Natalya and Lacey Evans had the first ever women's match in Saudi Arabia at Crown Jewel 2019. Because before that, when they entered into the partnership with the Saudi government, for that first year, women weren't even allowed to be on the show. They also weren't allowed to drive, and it was shortly after the Greatest Royal Rumble in 2018 that they were allowed to drive. Not insinuating that it's because of WWE, but the Prince, Mohammed bin, I'm not going to try to pronunciate his name because I actually kind of forget his name now. It was off the top of my head. The Saudi Prince. He has this thing called Vision 2030, where essentially he wants to paint Saudi Arabia in a nicer light, that they're willing to innovate and change and kind of roll with more modern times, like how the rest of the world operates. Even though every country, every nation can be quite different, there are still norms that are seen around the world for the most part that aren't seen there, or that weren't seen there, that are just now starting to be seen there. AKA women having to be chaperoned by a man. Would never be able to go to a WWE live event on their own. Wasn't allowed to drive. Just very crazy stuff. So then WWE entered into a multi-year partnership with the Saudi General Entertainment Authority, the GEA, in 2018. The deal is worth $50 million per event. WWE generally do about 2 events a year. There's the Night of Champions and the Crown Jewel. I'd forgotten for a moment with the C. That's why I wrote that down, because I'm trying to make it seem like I remember most of the stuff that I typed out, and then I froze. So it's very important for me to have this. So that's $100 million US dollars a year right there. This is part of the Saudi Arabia's broader efforts to modernize its global image and grow tourism and entertainment. Saudi government is the one who approached WWE. WWE saw the financial opportunity, and they agreed. 7 years ago was the first event, like I said, under the deal at the Greatest Royal Rumble in April of 2018. Saudi Arabia heavily controls how the event is presented, such as who appears, the match types, and cultural considerations, such as women not allowed initially and now are there but with restrictions. And it's also worth mentioning as well, which I did talk about on my other channel before I opened up my wrestling channel, that it went as far as Rey Mysterio not allowed having his Christian cross on his mask. So he had to have more of a blank canvas on his mask. That I'm just saying I'm going to roll my eyes at. Like I said, on this channel, with me here, I like to be very transparent. I like to not sugarcoat things. I'll coat it in a little aspartame, but that's about it. I also have to be careful with my word choices as well. I don't want to get canceled just because I was trying to make 2 pennies on a video. So here's what happens. When people criticize WWE for doing shows in Saudi Arabia, there's one argument that usually always comes up. Oh, so you're mad about Saudi Arabia's human rights, but you're saying this on an iPhone? Hmm, got it. And honestly, that argument actually isn't totally wrong. The truth is, a lot of the products we use, such as iPhones, laptops, clothing, are made in countries with questionable labor laws, poor human rights, or authoritarian governments. Most big companies, from Apple to Disney to Amazon, do business in places where things are far from perfect. So yeah, if you wanted to be 100% morally pure, you'd probably have to cancel half the modern world. But there is a difference. WWE's deal with Saudi Arabia isn't just doing business. It's state-funded propaganda deal, multi-million-dollar contract with the Saudi government to help clean up their global image. We're not talking about quietly selling products. We're talking about putting on loud, flashy, feel-good entertainment. Directly funded by a regime with one of the worst human rights records in the world. So yeah, we're all caught up in a messy system, but not every deal is the same. Some things cross a different line, and it's okay to call that out. It's not hate, right? When I say that. So do I have a personal issue with it? No, I don't have an issue. Remember, not everybody's the same. Oh, their government does this, their government does that. Great. Not everybody that lives there supports that. Look at the North Korean world. You think all the people that live there support what's happening? Absolutely not. So when you hear people say, oh, screw those people, it's not very nice. Really, it isn't. This isn't about being woke. I'm not for that woke shit. I just want to call a fucking spade, and a heart, okay? Let's not get that twisted for one single second. Doing live events in Saudi Arabia where you just rent a venue, now that would be pretty standard for any global business. Nothing unusual there. But WWE Saudi shows are different. These events are directly funded and overseen by the Saudi government, which means WWE isn't just putting on a show. They're playing a key role in a state-run PR campaign designed to improve Saudi Arabia's image internationally. That's more than business. It's complicity in sports washing. And that's a whole different ballgame. But even though I said that, I'm pulling a Paul Heyman. I go one way, then all of a sudden I turn it around. I say, but look, just because WWE does shows in Saudi Arabia doesn't mean that they endorse the regime. Sure, it's sports washing. I gotta bring this up here a bit. But it's also maybe soft diplomacy. Maybe by showing up, sharing entertainment, and breaking barriers, like letting women wrestle in front of live crowds, it slowly chips away at the old restrictions. Then maybe the Saudi government sees, wow, our people are happy, they get to do all these things, this is productive. All right, let's do this. So in the end, if stuff like this helps nations understand each other better, even just a little, maybe that's a step towards a more peaceful world, one event at a time. And that is my speech on that, because there are a lot of things that, like I said, happen, and sometimes I'm mixed on what I feel inside. Like the whole Bianca Belair, Naomi, Nia Jax, Jade Cargill. You see where I'm going with that? And the crickets that we hear at the Saudi shows when there's black women there. Or when they're told to shut the fuck up, when potentially other women would not be told to do so. Sometimes there's a pattern and it makes you go, I don't know, it kind of seems to be a common factor here. Doesn't seem like the crowd is very appreciative of black women. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with saying that, because you actually have some facts to back up the argument that you're trying to showcase. And there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, not everything's racist, because I'm usually the first one to say that too. Not everything is racist. Not everything's anti-Semitic. You can, you know, I'm going into some deep water here, some shark territory, some megalodon territory. But you should be allowed to criticize a government, like, for example, the Israeli government, without being called an anti-Semite. We're very quick in this world to just label everything as such. But sometimes there's a little bit of truth behind it. And in the end, all of this shouldn't be rocket science. And even rocket science, when you study it for a couple of years, it makes complete sense. Okay? You should be able to state how you feel, come up with some points that support your argument or your statement. I don't like the word argument. You don't have to really argue. Debate. And then you can have people that come up with a rebuttal and say, okay, I see where you're coming from. However, and then you can agree to disagree or simply leave it at that and go, okay, so that's inconclusive. I still stand by what I feel. You're standing by what you feel. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for letting me see your insight so I can see a topic of discussion from a different light, from a different angle, a different perspective. I enjoy that aspect of communicating and discussing things with people. I absolutely adore it. That's why I have a politics channel. That's why I love talking about Justin Trudeau and your Trumps and your Elon Musks and your Joe Bidens. Because, it's so like, it's taboo territory and I like it. I love it. I lust for it. Okay, that's enough. You get the idea. And again, I think the reason why I get along with so many people really well, is because I'm open, I let people speak, and I don't shit on them for having their point of view. I could say, oof, you sure about that? Then counter-argue something, whatever it may be. And it just really doesn't need to be all that serious, all that deep, even if what you're talking about is quite serious. It doesn't always have to lead to, I'm gonna fuck you up, and like, shut the fuck up. Literally. Go home, argue on Reddit, on Twitter, on Instagram. I call it Twitter, come at me. And then call it the day. If the whole world did that and stopped doing all the other shitty things that they do to one another, the world's population would be bigger. So just keep that in mind. When you comment, if you comment, the 3 people that are going to see this video. So go ahead. Drop a comment down below. Let me know about your take on this whole thing that I discussed. What do you think? You could think completely different. Like I said, that's totally fine. It's really not that big of a deal, even though this is a big deal. Talking about it shouldn't have to be. And that's that. So as always, if you liked the video, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. It does greatly help support the channel with the algorithm and trying to make me more relevant in the search results when people are looking shit up online. And if you didn't like the video, go ahead, give it a thumbs down. I'll bend it in half, twist it. You get the solo Sakoan spike. And then when that's broken off in your ass, you'll get a choke slam from that dude, the Tonga, Tala Tonga. Could you believe that? The guy's name, the new guy that came, the Tal Tonga, he's called Tala. Get it? He's taller. Haha. No, I'm not saying that's why they did it. I just call the fucking guy Kirk Hammett. The lead guitarist for Metallica, if you've been under a rock for 4+ decades. I thought that was funny. Watch somebody say that that's racist now. I love this shit. Seriously, just talking, not being distracted by playing a game. Wow, all that rambling and I'm still under 15 minutes. That's a miracle. This is how long my recaps used to be. Much longer than this, sometimes up to 22 minutes. Okay, that's enough. Take care, and if I'm lucky, maybe I'll see some of you in the next video, whatever that may be. Bye for now.